Just on 3 years old, we'll cover kia so. So, tūtaua mai I runga, tūtaua mai I rāro, tūtaua mai I roto, tūtaua mai I waho. Kia tau ai, ki Māori tū. Kia tau ai, Māori ora, ki te katoa. Homie, uie, tātai. It has come forth from above, from below, from within, and from the environment around us. Vitality and well-being for all, strengthened in all. So welcome to the final community board meeting that we have for this training. And thanks for coming to a much warmer whare Mahana than we were last year. If you remember, we couldn't get the heating going, it was freezing, so it's lovely to be here at Nugget. And welcome to the Chief Executive, Mike Tevens. So thanks, Mike, for joining as ELT representative. Good to see members of the public, which is probably just you, Ian, to be honest, because everyone else looks like their staff at the moment. And good to see the team from the Sun and from the app as well. We will be recording the meeting from over there, and we will be recording the workshop that will follow. Apologies today are just from Cody Tucker, and so I will move that we accept Cody's apology. You would like to second that? Sure. Chris is seconding. All those in favour? I'll carry that. Resolutions. So the next resolution. Any declarations or conflicts of any declarations of conflicts of interest based on the agenda today? No. There's no matters laying on the table, so we're going to get straight into the public forum, and we've got Ian Reeves, Ian Wānaka-Upper, kia ora, and Ian's from Wānaka, and he's going to talk to us about the maritime plan. So, Ian, the floor is yours.
Good morning, community board members. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak at today's meeting. For those that don't know me, my name is Ian Reeves, and I'm on the committee of Wānaka. I'm here to give you a brief update on the work we've been doing behind the scenes to support the re-establishment of mountain biking on Mount Iron. Now, I understand I understand that in your workshop following this meeting, we'll be hearing from the parks team about early stage work on a future trail development plan for Mount Iron. Wānaka has been actively involved in that process, working alongside the Tracks Trust and the parks team, including Dave and Jack here today. While that work is progressing, I'm here today to highlight one key issue that we've raised with the parks team, and that is timing. The current target is to bring a trail development plan to the community board for approval by February. However, from our perspective, that time frame is looking increasingly tight. There are a number of complex inputs still required, including ecology and landscape assessments, EV consultation, and broader stakeholder engagement. And at this stage, Wānaka is the only group with any trail plans ready to input into the trail development plan process. So given the likelihood that the broader trail development plan may take some time to finalise, Wānaka is proposing a practical first step that biking be allowed to re-establish on Mount Iron in the short term ahead of the full plan being completed. Our stage one proposal is focused and low impact. It involves revitalising existing mountain bike trails and developing a new climbing track along sections of the current four-wheel drive track. There will be very limited new trail construction, only short sections to meet appropriate grading requirements on uphill biking. Now at this point it's important to emphasise that the reserve management plan does permit biking on Mount Iron. That's obviously 682. We have commissioned both ecological and landscape assessments for our stage one proposal, and both include the effects are minor. We also want to make it clear that this early stage work won't limit or conflict with any future trail concepts. All existing walking trails will remain fully accessible and untouched. There's a large and enthusiastic mountain biking community ready and waiting to ride on Mount Iron again. By allowing the stage one plan proposal to move forward, we can tap into that energy, maintain strong community engagement and support, all while giving the wider trail development plan the time and space that needs to be developed properly and collaboratively. Wānaka is fully committed to supporting the broader trail development plan and continuing to work collaboratively with QLDC and the Tracks Trust as that vision takes shape. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Nicely put, Ian. Thank you. So, nice pragmatic solution. Because this is going to be a workshop item, I'll just throw this open for any questions the team may have for Ian while we've still got him at the table. What did your ecology, so who did you engage for your ecology an external party.
Yeah, external ecologist.
That's right. And what is it? And what people do?
No, it wasn't. She was one option. It's North Island based, but the guy here that did it.
What did they tell you? So what did they tell you about the ecology challenges around that?
Yeah, look, so I mean, Mount Lion itself, I think as everyone knows, does have some ecological sensitive elements to it. Like one of the key aspects in terms of the ecological work that was done was effectively, because we're only largely focusing on the existing tracks, the ecological effects of that, and it's very limited to effectively some pruning and Clutha. There was one sensitive area that we looked at that I actually looked at on site with them, which is, I don't know if you know Mount Lion, but on the backside on the hidden hillsides, there's almost a wetland type flat spot in there, which has been identified by various groups as potentially housing some spring activity, is what they call them. So one of the aspects that we just talked about was ensuring that that area is effectively demarcated off, whether that's fencing or planting, to ensure that it is kept on being impacted by local people.
One of the things that came up obviously with the plan was the access points.
Yep.
Where do you envisage that biking will be turning over bikes or
Yeah, it's having a lot of cycles where the existing tracks will go, so the back side.
So they'll be coming in there, those access points that we're not publicised.
No, the Hidden Hills will be up the main.
The existing main
Hills.
Oh, the Hill Road, not the one further
No. The hub comes down into as far as, from what I understand, it all comes down to the top of the road at the top of the Hidden Hills.
Yeah, I know you mean. Thanks.
Good job.
Just what consultation with the neighbourhood residents associations and Hidden Hills has been included?
At this stage, the only consultation that goes through the reserve management plan process, and I think that's part of the discussion with the parks team this afternoon over what that
Because if I remember correctly, there was quite an objection to that area being opened up and out and the public feedback of submissions.
Yeah, there was definitely some negative feedback for sure. Largely, my understanding was more around the ecological impact. And I think there was one or two in Clutha that was an access point, which was a separate access point that we wouldn't be using.
John?
Your cultural survey, was that done?
I think it's finished in January.
Might be worth getting them to go back now.
But they went in spring.
Okay.
12 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be January.
Yeah, and it was wildlands.
Wildlands.
Wildlands, yeah.
Anything else? Ian, thank you very much. You've set the scene nicely. Thanks for taking the time and representing Wānaka here and sharing some pragmatic thoughts around the trail band.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we confirm the agenda. Is there any changes anyone would like to see on the agenda? Okay, then I'll move that the agenda be confirmed without addition or alteration. Second that. Thank you, John. All those in favour?
Aye.
Our last meeting was held on the 7th of August. We have circulated the minutes. Has anyone got any changes or additions to those minutes? Otherwise, I will move that the minutes of the 7th of August 2025 committee board meeting be confirmed as true and correct. Good. Anyone like to second that? Thank you, Barry. All those in favour?
I'll abstain, I was at that meeting.
Thank you. All those in favour? Everybody except Barry. Lyle? Who was it? Thank you, Lyle. Right. Substantive piece of work around the Ely Point tree succession plan is coming to a head. So who's coming? Dom, you're going to come up. Lee, you're going to come up as well. Good to see you too. Dave's going to come up as well. We know there's a lot of work put into it, but the agenda was 24 meg and it's normally only about 6 meg. I looked at the extra 18 meg was about 4,000 tonnes of finance radiata or Douglas food or that succession thing. Okay, so thanks for the work that's gone into that. Before we open up for discussion, Lee, Dave, Don, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, that's great.
Good job.
Yeah, good. Parking with that planner. With these layout here to present the early point tree succession plan, draft which was shared with the community board in March. Following that, we undertook some live engagement with the public, which was from the guidance of the board. Throughout some of the talking sessions, it was brought up that we should do a letter block and maybe an email to some of the surrounding residents to make sure they were there. So we did that to ensure that they had enough time to respond to the plan. We extended the engagement period as well. We received range submissions, all of which reflected the community, the value the community places on the point. While views did differ, everyone recognised the high community values for reserves and recreation opportunities it provides. This demonstrated the value the community places on the point, which I'm sure you can all appreciate. This highlights the shared responsibility to both protect and enhance the iconic landscapes that make up the wider Works Bay and Queenstown Lake District. In response to the feedback received, the plan was amended with the aim to strike a balance between neighbours and carefully selected exotic species with a focus on enhancing biodiversity at any point. Importantly, the long-term nature of the plan, which spans the stage 60-year removal and replanting period, this will ensure that the values most associated with every point from the feedback are retained, which were shelter from the wind, shade along the western beachfront, and the open woodland character of the reserve. And here this piece of work sits within a wider QLDC strategy for conflict control and ecological enhancement, which has seen projects such as the Queenstown Gardens, the Queenstown Health Forestry Plan, Project Clutha, and recent RMPs that's now on the side of the hill. And all of these sit within the wider QLDC climate biodiversity plan as well. And so all of this shows QLDC's commitment to actively restoring biodiversity while protecting the immunity values of the reserves for the community benefit.
So what was the one significant change from the public feedback? I think I was running through a couple, but was there anything else from your point of view that really enhanced where you actually thought, yeah, good points, let's tweak things?
Yeah, I think a lot of people confused about the time frame, and so one of the things visually actually was the maps changing around a little bit, so visually people could see this is 10 cents, 5 cents, so I think that was a key thing, and also a bit of confusion around the willows and the poplars, how we'll be retaining the established ones, but we've been sealing, so those are quite key points.
And the other thing, you were really keen on that Murayami method of really close planting stuff, but it seems like you've had to maybe...
Yeah, so
practice that a little bit.
we put it in as, and we will do that, but we said to actually we'll put the whole reserve, particularly where it was going to be really, really dense, so we said we'll do that as like pocket, and then we introduce like woodland settings or more open spaces so people move through the reserve. Right. That was kind of put in there with that word.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll just go around the table if there's any questions, or raise hands, if there's any questions or comments around this big piece of work that is going to set the scene for the next 60 years for that iconic endpoint reserve.
I'm just very supportive of it. I think one of the biggest things that I picked up from the comments and also from actually attending the properties was this misunderstanding that all the trees are going to go in one first one into the 60-year plan. And I think it's well designed and is the right thing to do.
Yeah, just a couple things. Yeah, good to get clarification about what the willows and the poplars and all. You mentioned tree program. When we would like to see, say, the first bit of action there, and I was wondering what sort of budget we've got in the LTP. Are we coming under the tree planting program, or where's the money coming from for this?
Yeah, so at the moment there's $60,000 available in the federal funding. We have a point, and that's to be used within this financial year. So that's to be used for some of the early stages. One of those will be removing the sort of saplings and the waters and the lakes edge river day on the river day side.
Right.
And then so we'll hopefully look at doing that sort of prior to Christmas, and then based on obviously, and then the rest of that will be used looking towards maybe some removals and prior to winter next year.
So just on the planting, we've been planting in the past about 2-3 years in each point. You will see some poison there now and some natives. That's coming from the planting program, and they're doing pretty well. So that's pretty
And it's a pretty simple thing. What about the big trees coming out? What do you actually do with the wood?
Yeah, so it's a little bit up to debate, because it's so staged, we're never going to have a huge amount of wood all at once. So it'll be likely be used for community groups, for firewood and things like that.
Cool. Yeah, that was for this down session. Next week, just they've got a program where the winter providing wood for heating.
Which organisation was it?
Community link.
Community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great piece of work, that goes back to 2018, I think, when the master plan was actually developed for everyone. So it's really fantastic to see the work developed that you've done, great package, great community. And what I felt you were successful in getting across range, a whole lot of feedback, which was really great to see. Some more inclusion of exotics into the mix has been, I sense through the comments actually where people were heading, with those being beneficial as well, not just indigenous species, which I think is great for rapid regeneration of that area. They may be removed sometime later on, who knows, but great piece of work. I think one of the big points that came through in a lot of the comments was further amenity use of Ely Point, and whether or not, I know it's not within your realm of works maybe, but within parks considerations, because it's taken so long, 2018 to get to 2025, we're actually starting to implement a master plan that was done all that time ago. Should that be now extending into what other amenity facilities that the community were requesting within that feedback, maybe come into discussion?
Yeah, so any of those sort of other things, I guess this plan is purely just on the tree succession. Yeah, taking note that we do have a development plan that sort of looks at that sort of 10 to 15 year vision, and that sort of work that will be.
And we can look to weave that into this.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just didn't want it to be lost because there was quite a lot of feedback requesting that, not just actually about the tree spaces being planned, but actually what other amenity facilities would be incorporated into that.
I think it would be appropriate timing to, especially as we start doing some of this.
Exactly. Just keep that discussion, like you've got the community engaged, keep them talking as a nice positive contribution to the plan that you're working with, not necessarily that you'd be managing at more days area. Yeah, I was really impressed. The feedback was very substantial. I thought they finally ended up with a really good drop. So well done.
Lee, I noticed in there that you're changing some of the species to have nut trees. Walnuts or
walnuts, hazelnuts. That's a thing for feedback actually. So we requested that, and we've been doing planting around the district of nuts, and I think work quite well
like a, okay. You want to say something?
Yeah. Acknowledge the work that's been done, and it's a long-term legacy program. There's people that aren't even born yet. I think it's fantastic that we've set the groundwork. Just one point was the possibility of reinvasion. There's a risk. How would you see that being managed?
It will come under the sort of assessment period as well throughout the program of work, sort of the removals, and then an assessment period, and then replanting, and that would just come under the sort of parks general maintenance program as well.
Sorry, someone did something else. Just, I was just to understand the management just from the history of using herbicides on the lakefront for saplings. How are you intending to remove those saplings this spring? Because historically, they go back to the main source of the tree and kill the tree.
I think the next stage will be swap as a manual and see how it goes. Ideally, we don't want to be using herbicides and stuff at all. And so,
All those that I was worried about.
oh yeah, exactly. We paste some of those up and we kill the tree, and that does happen. So I think we're really sensitive around that, very manual, and then see how it goes. And if we are working manually, then we should control that like that.
Thanks, Lee, because I know when we did, this is the third stage, we lost 2 big willows from the contractor just coming in and mass spraying all the seedlings, which just went straight back to the main tree and killed the tree.
I think the other side from my point would be more in line with if it's happening like pointless, but really it's kind of a lot of try to avoid that.
plans to manage that area of Lake Fund. Once we do this initial removal, we'll be able to monitor that a little bit more regularly than what has been done.
Awesome.
It's just, like everyone else, it's incredible that this is going to happen. And like when 60 years is finished. But I'm sure that's not going to be like. Regular updates to future generations or community boards and that sort of thing, and reviews of how the process is going. I think would be really useful to, would you do it annually or would it be 5 years or something like that? I think would be really useful to come back to the public and say, hey look, we started this 5 years ago, this is where we've got to, and what we've got to do, I guess, show hopefully the successes of the actual capacity control mechanisms so that we can keep an eye on what's happening.
So I can probably answer that. So we can organise that. That's probably something we'll do. So there's probably 2 bits of feedback. One is for the future community boards about the progress of the work, and the second is updating the community about what stages we're at. I think that's probably a really important thing, particularly because it's such a long plan and could easily get lost over time. Lost 5, 10, 15, 16.
Well, halfway through, but something like that, oh, what's the point of doing this anymore, and it disappears, and that would be really unfortunate.
And we hope to be very also very active with capitals and groups like that, so the people will be involved in having that message to spread as well.
Very good. Well, awesome piece of work, and as we said, we believe you guys have born a legacy there, and so we should be very proud of what you've put together there. Ability to listen, reflect, and come up with something that's pretty much unanimously supported by the community, so well done. So, who would like to move that we note the contents of the report and we recommend to Council to adopt the final 80-point tree succession plan 2025? Linda would like to move that, and Chris is going to second that. All those in favour? Anyone against? So that is carried. Well done, take a second. We move on to item 2 on the agenda. Come on to it's the usual agenda item we get at this time of year, looking at the road closures as we look towards New Year's Eve and Christmas celebrations in downtown Wānaka, 2025. Adam put this report together, and you're going to be presenting it today. Anything you'd like to add alongside what has already been tabled?
No, it's similar to previous years.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got it's been refined, I think, over the last sort of 3 years, and it's got stronger and stronger, and it's been pretty consistent for the last 2 years. I think it worked really well. I was down there every day last time, and that's good. Has anyone got any other sort of questions around this, or any comments? I'm just going to pick up one thing, Kim, and I know you didn't write the report, but you might be able to take parts and so on, and this is, look, just when we've got disadvantages and we talk about road closures affect the normal flow of traffic, which may be detrimental to business and the public. I think we've got to be careful with the public. There's something called windshield bias when you look at all views through the inside of a car. Another thing you might look at is motor normativity around that. So I would just like to say that it's actually a disadvantage would be for those that choose to drive, not the public, because there's lots of people that are sort of walking and it'd be great for that and everything else like that. So not everyone in the public drives, and not all the public drives at the same time. So just a small comment that a disadvantage would be the people driving, not the public. Very good. Anything else around that?
But just a question that you know, not really about the road closure, just remind me what extent of vendors do we have down there during the I'm trying to remember.
Vendors?
Vendors. There's a purple block of vendors. No, it's not really road.
It's
Road closure.
vendors, but I do know that the events team will have a list of the vendors.
Okay.
Last year was the Lions Club giving out free chips, and it was Midnight Berries that were doing coffee cart. Those were the 2 vendors that
Sorry, not
I was
really.
hanging out there waiting for my kids to get finished dancing at 12 o'clock, so well, the chips were hot and soggy.
New Year's dinner.
Yeah. You want to get excited? When you order it.
I was shooting whether they want a special license.
There was no alcohol. Obviously. Okay, I will move that we note the context of the report and that the temporary road closures for New Year's Eve, as outlined in the report, be adopted adopted, and we authorise the following schedule of road closures that are noted there. Who would like to second that? John would like to second that. All those in favour? Anyone against? We'll carry that unanimously. Well done. Thanks, Kim. We'll see you again soon. Well, item 3. And Hugo, you're going to come up. Kia ora, Hugo. Thanks for joining us. So the final, second and final agenda item is when we consulted with, as a community board, around some minor changes around parking, traffic management, etc. So you've got those together for us in a report. Is there anything you'd like to add before we discuss?
Yeah, just item 2, Matt reference to page 115, the external uphill portion of the P60s that are proposed. That's outside the mini mart, grocery store, and the liquor store, which I'm retaining that detail.
So you're changing that. So let's just go to 115. So this is outside the old post office.
Correct.
Yep. And park 10s at the moment. Yeah, that's east of that, so outside the
Outside 33 or
outside 33. Is that the Asian supermarket? Is that what it's
Yeah.
Lunar, sorry. Thank you. So you have got there on page 115 to install park 60 signs here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 parks.
4 spaces, yeah.
And you're suggesting that that's a change has been to keep that as park 10?
Retaining this, yeah.
Okay. But the other 2, or other 4, 2 sets of 2 would go to 60.
Correct.
And the other one's west, further down the street. Okay. Who has some questions or comments for Hugo?
So can I just ask you a question? So can you just explain why we've separated the P60s and the recommended P10s rather than consolidating them together?
Just the times more appropriately aligned to the businesses.
So it's to spread those P10s in front of the businesses, is it?
Yeah.
It's the nature of those businesses, the moving part, and that's the one, the kiwi bag, probably goes someone to the post shop on Down Street, just pop in.
Sure. Yeah. I was just wondering, I mean, there's not a lot of additional walking whether we wouldn't put all P10s in one, and it's rather than having a P10 and a P60 and a P10 and a P60.
No, they're going to be rock, aren't they? Aren't they all P10 there and all P60 there?
Okay, so probably I'll read that differently.
So, just so I understand, just so that we get
Just
this.
yeah.
So, these will change to P60, and those 4 contiguous will be P10. So they're two blocks.
Sorry, that's what I was asking you, but you've got the form in.
No?
Yeah, I agree with that because it makes it consistent with outside the 4 squares that they're going to allow down there, emotionally allowed here. I'm happy with that. Question was the parking at the water sports park. So we've still got it, we're holding off putting a time, but obviously you're proposing it now. Is there still a problem up there with lengthy parking?
Yeah, it's been used as sort of park and ride communities.
Okay, sort of that, okay. The other one was, I mentioned earlier, the introduction of the shared space. Just, like I said to you earlier, I should have looked up the definition, but just briefly, what difference does that provide as a shared space to just a normal lane or road?
Yeah. So motor vehicle drivers have to give way to pedestrians.
Okay.
And then pedestrians must not unduly obstruct vehicle drivers.
Understood. Yeah, because we've got quite a few. I know some of them that Kirimak in there. They're putting quite a lot in there.
Well, it's consistent with the rest of work that's already in here, isn't it?
So this is, existing signage that we'll put it as part of the development and now formalize it.
Okay, understood.
It's been treated like that anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I know they're reasonable.
Well, you only hang out in Minister. What are you doing hanging out in
Driving lessons. There's not many cycle lanes in Wānaka. If you want to, like I was saying, if you want to go teach them how to turn across a cycle lane, you've got to turn left into Kotari.
Yep.
And if you take the sneak down Tuki Lane, or we go right all the way around. That makes sense.
Hugo, just, sorry. If I may, Hugo, just on the marina, Roy's Bay Marina, is that's just showing the loading bay strip of parking. All the rest of the parking is what in there?
The rest of the parking is untouched. This is just.
But what is it, long term, 240 or 120?
I went down yesterday and
Well,
looked.
if you drop your boat off and went up for the day, where do you park?
Further along, with the boat trailer or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry,
it's
I should have
no
checked.
change.
I looked, went down there, looked, sorry, Mr. Chair. Hang on.
No, that's okay.
Did you get your question answered, or do you want?
Not really, but I just wondered, there's no other changes been within the marina since stage 5 or the bike path went through. It just still seems kind of chaotically disorganised. The car parking and boat trailer parking, and is it just going to remain, you put in a loading bay area, but not showing what else has happened within the car parking of the marina? Is there no change?
Be a different team that handle that. This is just looking at changing the running the lines into the loading zone, which is the current behaviour that's happening.
Yeah, let's face it, whenever we're down there, when boats pull out, they park on those yellow lines, they keep the motor running, they drain off, they winch up, they do all the rest of the stuff there. So I think we're just basically reflecting that behaviour. So would you say that those yellow lines then get removed and then it's
Turned into a loading zone.
okay? We don't run them. Yeah. So from a behaviour point of view, yellow lines are quite, I was going to say, quite determinative, but not really because people are using it. So what will the signage actually say there? Loading zone 5 minutes, is that what it's going to say?
Yes, yeah, loading zone. Typically, 5 minute time frame around it. Yeah.
Okay. What's your idea? That was my idea. What's going to happen?
It comes down to enforcement. Yeah.
Would you say 5, Barry? Would 5 make sense?
Yeah, it's not huge now, when you put your boat out, you've got to pull up somewhere, just check your winch, everything's secure, towing shocks are on, what have you, so it's, it's a logical, wouldn't take more than 5 minutes, I would imagine, so that sort of time frame, I think the work it's happens now, you can't just drive off.
No.
Check, so, I think that makes sense.
I-
So the lead is given by the enforcement team.
Oh, sure.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I would just encourage it, if it's got loading zone, that there is a 5, or there's a 5 there, I think, because then it's, people understand, okay, I've got 5 minutes to do what, move on, which typically happens, but.
Well, it frees up the ranks, rather than sitting on the rank,
Yep.
doing that procedure.
Nice. Who else has got any questions for Hugo?
Oh, sorry, Chair, I've got another. Just on that, yeah, okay, we've got a time, I was wondering, what was the definition for loading zones? What is the normal? It's fine. Okay. The other one, back to the 10-minute outside in the 60-minute. Is that still going to be till 6 p.m. at night? One of the others been changed to 10 p.m. That was a request for
The
the
one that's up previously will be 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. and then the one outside the Foursquare will be till 10 p.m. As requested by the rules.
Okay, so I'm about to stand that, so we're going to have a different time.
Just to add to Hugo's response, loading zones is a timer, but you also have to demonstrate that you're actively loading and unloading. It's not a parking area for 5 minutes, it's a loading zone, so you have to be active.
John, go.
So is there any evidence of that current use impacting the footpath and cycle path through there? I mean, is there evidence they're putting onto the path partially blocking, or as they're checking, are they taking up a lot of that space?
Well, what actually happens, none of the boats actually come up because it's got coverage views, but what you do have is you do get door zones, which is a bit of a problem, and you do get a lot of people sort of standing on the bike path because they all get out and check the boat over and everything else like that. So I think that's a bit of a collateral, but I think it's just the way that it goes. You can't, I don't think there's not enough room to put a buffer between it.
It is a shared path anyway, rather than a bike path, isn't it?
I did say you walk with the roads.
It doesn't really matter who's walking or biking along it, but the doors do open out onto that, and that's the slight. It's
please keep an eye on.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I will then ask someone to move that we note the contents of Hugo's report and we approve the changes to new and existing restrictions as outlined in the report. Would someone like to move that? Barry, would you like to move that? I'd like to second that.
I mentioned it to you.
Yes, okay, I'm just going to rename it, thank you. So, we note the contents of the report. We note the amendment for the 4 parks outside the Lulu Mart to remain as 10 minutes and not 60 minutes, as suggested in the report, so that's the amendment. Barry, you're moving that. Who would like to second that? Someone to second that? All those in favour? Anyone against? So we'll carry that. Thank you. Well done, you guys. Look forward to seeing those being put in. What's the time frame for getting all those sort of?
I'll come back to you.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, item 4 is the chair's report, something that we have constructed and written in advance. There's quite a lot of community engagement from the team over the last 6 weeks, which I'm really pleased to see. Any other comments or questions around the chair's report?
Yeah, I'd like to mind that I also attended the Colwyn Flat precinct, the Colwyn precinct opening, and which was a lot of fun. Also, I went to the Guiding Ghostbusters tour, and I've subsequently had a meeting with the Otago Regional Council, QLDC, and the Wānaka-Upper Resident Association, in terms of looking at a beautification project in Victoria, which we elected at the mouth of the process over to initial discussion starting on that.
Nice. Well,
Just a couple on comment on your one. It's really good to see that there's some progress possibly with the Centre of Excellence, Freshwater Excellence. I talked to one of the trustees again last week. And
this is through Wānaka.
Wānaka. I think it's a great initiative. We really need to get behind that. Not just for our sub-region, actually for the lower part of the South Island. It's a bigger thing.
Well, that Centre of Excellence is always trying to create a knowledge-based economy or aspect to it, but you've got a lot of people here. If we can see seen as the experts in freshwater management here, and we can then get some funding, partner with the university and that sort of things, it really does help us to then create a sort of an anchor organisational institution here, knowledge-based.
And the Guardians, of course, too, but
Yeah. I think it's a great initiative. We should really, there's a bit of discussion going on with Otago University at the moment too, through the edge of the region. The other one was you mentioned about the hospital, and can I just mention a little bit about the regional deal negotiations. The big ask for health at the moment is for a clinical services plan to be produced, and New Zealand Health are doing that, and they've indicated they might have something within the next 2 or 3 weeks available for input from key stakeholders. So, and that feeds in, as we're talking reasonably, so that does obviously feed into CODC too. So it's, I think it's having a tight time frame to get this plan on the table. We need that clinical services plan so we can understand what's happening privately and publicly and where the gaps are. So it's quite exciting.
So Araha, who is one of the senior peers who work at Health New Zealand that we've had before, she contacted me, and Wānaka will be on that clinical services plan roadshow.
Okay.
And they've booked, they seem to, I think it's about the 25th or so of November, so we will, between 12 and 3 or something, so we will be one of the key stops on that clinical services plan tour.
Excellent.
And it will be another opportunity for the community to go and listen and to ask questions and to contribute to that clinical service plan. So that's locked in, which is really good.
And just generally, I would just want to comment, I haven't put it in here, but the CEO may want to comment, but the regional appeal negotiations, there's basically workshops every week that is progressing quite quickly. We have a negotiator appointed down who's been publicly made aware of Connor English doing negotiation, and the government's asked us to keep our key asks reasonably succinct and push on with that. So with health, transport one, the integrated transport planning one, and various other things going say any more than that, but I think it's very, very a great initiative, and it's an opportunity. We've got to do something different, and there's much support through the regional deal for that. And everything we do from now on, we've got to be looking at what's happening in problem, because of how it impacts on both Wānaka and Queenstown. So I think it's very exciting and great initiative to keep moving forward with.
Thank you. Anything else on the Chair's report? Thank you. Well, given that it's my report, I will note the contents of the report and move that we accept that. Anyone else second that? Thank you, Chris. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Carried. Okay, so this is our last community board meeting, so I will go around the table. I just wanted, I did 3 years, my goodness, 3 years goes, and I did reflect today on some of the things that happened over those 3 years. You know, we opened Te Arama Mahara, the Millennium Path, we opened Waitara, we completed the purchase of Mount Iron and the reserve management plan for Mount Iron during our term. We did reserve management plans for Peninsula Bay and Lismore Park. We put in cycle paths and shared paths on Anderson Road, stage 5 near the marina. We sealed Golf Course Roads pathway with chip seal. We did still the Albury. We got roundabouts in the Anderson Albury. We got roundabouts in at the main road on Hawea and that Riverbank Road. We worked really closely with the local government commission to improve the relationships and visibility of Wānaka and the Upper Clutha and the QLDC. We helped to reshape the Skur Heights Fund, which will have dividends for the next term of the community board. Some of the small things we did, we tidied up the entrance into town, when we come along State Highway 84, got rid of that fence berry, we got, as we come in, that State Highway 84 looks amazing. We asked for the vegetation to be removed between town and the lake, and we really opened that up. So there was big things and there were small things, and then most recently we engaged with the community around the Wānaka Airport. So, just sometimes we get caught up and say things don't move, but when you step back, I think we can say that we've been pretty influential and have been really constructive and supportive in some of those really big initiatives that have happened over the last 36 months. So I'll just go around the table since that's our last meeting. Anything from you, Chris, before we close up?
Much like the first 3 years of my time was unbelievable, but it's incredible how such a diverse group of people can sit around a table like this and actually come up with a collective agreement on things that you just mentioned, because I think we're a good representation of the community, shall we say, with all our diverse ideas and diverse backgrounds. And I think we symbolise what Wānaka is and can be even more as a group of people with not necessarily a shared vision in terms of exactly what we want, but certainly a lifestyle that we're all moved here for, and our diversity is what makes us stronger, even though we come from those diverse backgrounds who actually work incredibly well together. And I think that our relationship with, as I say, with everyone over the hill has improved as well, and I think that's partly us and partly them. It's been that open communication has really made a big difference around this stage and between you and the young staff and that bodes well for the next 3 years as well, between you two the last 2 around the table.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. John?
Yeah, I think we've made good progress in re-empowering the community board over the last 3 years. I think we've got more to do, but I think we've made good progress so far. What I want to add to your list is the thing that I'm most excited about, to actually being able to bring forward the permanent sports fields.
I want to leave one for you.
And the rehabilitation of that now, and the next project will be currently bring forward actually developing those, because there is an urgent need for those sports facilities in Wānaka. And that needs to be one of the focuses of whoever brings up the community board for the next term.
Sure, thanks, John. Barry?
Well, this second term for me has been much more interesting because it's a fair chunk of the meetings that I chaired during my first term on the community board from our action table at home during the COVID period, so we didn't get too much face-to-face time, and I guess that restricted some things that we could or couldn't do. But I guess the most notable thing is the close working relationship that we've got with staff and community services, and we're a good example of that, where we get together and sort of on a cross discussion and
Yeah, it's been a very interesting first term for me in governance. It's been one of learning and listening and hearing, and I fear that, you know, our community is diverse, but it's also got lots of community groups, and for me, I guess it's a really important thing for the community board to actually be representing the community, not just one particular lobby group of people who actually don't live in our community. We have a really unique community here, and that surrounding me, there have been more than 10 homes that are maybe used 6 weeks of the year, and I don't know that there's any other kind of communities across New Zealand that have such a transient population as this community does. So the big loud voices that come out often have big numbers behind them to push things through, and I feel that the community board really needs to be on the ground listening and talking to people in the community, as Chris does within the cafe. People come and chat, and they live here, and they represent the community here, and I fear that as our region grows and lobby groups grow, that politically they push through work without being community consulted thoroughly, in the sense that it's the community voices strongly being heard and represented by the board, rather than a particular group of big numbers which can push the vote. And I guess in the sense of gender diversity, I feel that it's really important to be represented across the board, and that's a representation again of a community. I guess from my own personal learning through being on governance for the first term has been a little bit frustrating, in the sense I'm only one voice around the table, and I often felt that I wasn't heard, and if I had been wearing maybe the appearance of a male, I would have been included in stronger voice representation. So I'm pleased to see that there's more diversity in gender that's standing for council, and I really hope that the community board continues to accept diversity and be open to actually engaging with everybody in the community rather than just certain sectors.
Good, thanks, Linda. No?
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it's interesting. This is my 15th year on this community board. Over the years, I've chaired for a few years. I think, like you realise, things change as time moves on. I think the function of this community board this term has been one of the best. And the relationship now, I think the CEO and the staff for their support. You know, we hear a lot of negative stuff. That's why I'm so pleased to hear the Chair read out the achievements list. He could add things to it. Now, we went through the LTP process and got a hard time for it. We didn't change much, but hey, let's look out the door. We bought Lugger orders for it, and it's really appropriate we're having this meeting here, seeing that project underway and the Valentine Ponds and all the other things that Simon mentioned. So then we get people saying we've got to disconnect with what Queenstown and Wānaka, and I just say, well, I don't think so. You know, we get so much support from the staff. We've got so much going on, we've achieved so much. If you look at the numbers, the share of the capital program, we're getting our share here. I just don't see the negativity that's been talked about out there actually present in our community. Yes, we try and represent all groups. I think we've got a good group around the table here. We've got community associations, we've got all these other community groups. We're in a pretty good place. And if you, dare I say, go and look at the news tonight and see where you're rather living, Wānaka and the Queenstown district is pretty damn good. So I thank you very much I've really enjoyed being part of this community board, and I think we've achieved a lot. There's still a lot to be done. I love getting things done, and just look forward to what happens in the next 3 years. Thank you.
No, I might just say it's been a pleasure having the community board to work with. It's been a very active community board, and community boards come in all different shapes and sizes, but I think you've collectively highlighted a lot of the change that is happening here. Obviously that requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of funding, it requires a lot of technical support right across the organisation and the community to make that happen. And it's positive to see that list of things. This is the fastest growing region in the country, and
it's a fast-track region for one particular factor, and there's people want to live here. And that creates its own challenges for the community because things change so quickly and we're always, in that sense, chasing our tail. The community board is very active in keeping one to the forefront, and that's really been appreciated by the organisation. And really thank the community board for the engagement you continue to have with staff and the work that staff have done to really support the community board and right across the district in making change. So, and all the best to all of you on these standards. Some guys will others, so all the best to you all. Thank you.
I just want to use something for the chair. Thank you for not passing on the time. The hard work and dedication which you have to all the chair and other highlights of this really.
That's very cool. Very good. Okay, on that, we'll bring this to a close, and I'm just going to ask Georgia to do a closing karakia for us, and then hopefully declare the meeting closed.
Kia whakaere te tapu, kia wātia Aotearoa, kia tūruki whakataha ai, kia tūruki whakataha ai, haumea, tāia.
Kia ora. Thank you, Georgia. Close meeting at 10:52. We will stop the recording of this meeting